Welcome, everyone. Welcome, my food and mood friends, Chandra Zas and Dr. Yotam Tamari. We are diving into coffee today. Thank you, Dr. Yotam, for being here. I really appreciate it.
Welcome. Here is your hostess and coach, Chandra Zas, helping people make food and mood changes doable without missing out. Go ahead, high five that like button, subscribe and share while you're there.
So I'm going to give a little bit of a background. I really want to dive into the topic of coffee, partly because it's a question I get asked very often, what my opinion on coffee is from a health perspective. And also for a personal reason is that I have a love affair with coffee that I've been watching for a long time, and I've taken breaks before. And just this last few days, I have been kind of really acknowledging to myself that I've been overusing coffee for the last year. I've been building my business, and sometimes we turn towards foods or coffee or smoking or drinking or whatever to kind of cover up emotions. And sometimes we use them to push through and ignore our body. And I would say that I'm in the latter category this last year. I was probably needing more rest than I was taking. And I was kind of using coffee to ignore my body and push through and build a business and travel and do all the crazy things we've been doing. And it's actually my birthday month this month. My birthday is in March. And so one of the gifts that I'm giving myself is I'm going to give my body a break from coffee. And so I would love your perspective, your thoughts, and I would also really love some great reasons, because, I think one of the most important things on making habit changes is it's so easy to think, oh, it doesn't really matter, or I can get away with it. And I find that one of the most useful things is actually kind of building some evidence of why it does matter. What are really the costs to my body? What are really the benefits of taking a break? And so yeah, I would love to. I want to start with, though, the first question I want to ask you, Dr. Yotam, is the benefits of coffee. Because I do know that it's not that it's like always bad. There are some benefits to coffee. So would you touch a little bit on that piece from your perspective?
Yes. So really, there is a lot of benefits to coffee, but really, like you said before, it's really get far away from our mind, the benefits, when we abuse the coffee and drink it every day. So the benefits of coffee is really the stimulation and also the feeling lightness. Coffee, with the right term of nutrition and foods, makes us stimulate. And also coffee is the antidepressant substance. Most of us don't think about it as in that term, but really coffee makes our heart rapid a little bit more. Really, after drinking coffee, the heartbeats gets up. And when the heartbeats is getting up, we are living our reality in a much more higher frequency. Mm-hmm. And when we are on a higher frequency, we can be elevated. It's actual elevation. But this elevation, like you said, comes with a cost. So for me, really, the benefits is it's in the physical term is feeling energized, and in the mental term, feeling elevated. And I think maybe it will be much more interesting to think about it as from what's the history of coffee, where it came from. So coffee came from South America, where it grew naturally. And over there, like the ancient culture, they use it as initiation ceremonies and hunting ceremonies. Before they went out of the safe ground, they wanted to be elevated, to feel energized, and to go out like that into nature, into the unknown. So they really used it as a spiritual term of using it as a substance that will get them.
Hello, my friend. How are you? I'm in the Dead Sea floating in the water. Go ahead and like and share and follow so we can keep in touch.
And much more with confidence into the unknown. So most of us doesn't know that, but they used it maybe a few times a year. So yeah. So that's really, I'm sorry that I don't have much more of the beneficial side, because I have much more to speak about why not drinking coffee, but
Can I ask you
it
one
is
more
what it
question?
is.
Can I ask you one more question before we get to the negative effects? So in an ideal world, like if we were only drinking coffee to like as a health purpose to benefit our body, what would that look like? You said that the South Americans, they only drink a couple times a year, but like, what would you advise is like an ideal beneficial way to use coffee?
So in our culture, we use coffee as a culturistic thing. We meet up with friends, we drink coffee. We come into a house, we're visiting friends. It's fun to drink coffee together. So it's, when we break it down and we understand it's a culturistic thing, I don't want to take that from people if it's really crucial for them. But maybe also really once in 2 weeks. Because if we spoke, before that, we spoke about detoxification. After every cup of coffee, the body needs 3 days of detoxification. It affects the body 3 days after.
Wow. Wow.
And most of us, when we drinking coffee in a culturistic thing, we drink sometimes a few times a day.
Yeah. So, okay. So ideally it would be once every couple weeks. And then is there a time of day, or is there in relationship to food? Like,
yes,
are there any more
it's really
specifics?
important. It's really crucial, important not to drink coffee while you're tired. Really important.
Which is when everybody drinks it, right?
Because sometimes when we are tired and we're saying, wow, I'm tired, I need to wake up. Sometimes what the body needs is really 10 minutes of closing our eyes, and then we can get back into functions. And not to overstimulated the place that wants to be rest. It's like doing the full sin towards the situation, towards the body. It makes the body uses his essence, instead of recovering essence, taking away from the essence of our life, of our storage, really claiming in the storage instead of nourishing our bonds and our food storage. So it's really important to drink coffee, like to say, okay, I'm feeling good, I'm feeling perfect, I ate something already, I drank a few cups of water a day, I'm feeling good, I can drink coffee a day now. And it's also really important to wash everything after coffee with water or soda. 1 or 2 cups of water after. This is crucial. This is really crucial.
And to specify, it's soda water. It's not a like Coca-Cola. You're talking like water with bubbles.
Soda water.
It also is really great for clearing the palate. It like cleans the flavor of coffee. And it sounds like maybe it also cleans the beginning of the digestive tract. Why is that? I'm actually really curious. What is that? Why is water or soda water important?
Because coffee makes acid reaction in the stomach, really acidic. Yeah, acidic reaction, and water can make it more alkaline, and to bring balance into the stomach after drinking coffee.
Cool. I didn't know that. That's cool.
Yeah.
So make sure you drink water before you have coffee, during the day, have some food, have your coffee. I've actually never thought about it this way. It's really cool. Have your coffee when you're actually feeling really good, not when you're tired, which is like so opposite of what we all do, or culturally do. and then afterwards to drink a glass of water or soda water to kind of alkalize and balance the acidicness in the beginning of our digestive tract.
Yeah, and I want to say another thing. I said before that coffee acts as an antidepressant substance. And for that term, we really need to be careful with coffee while we are dealing with our emotion, because it will make us also again step away from dealing with what there is while we're coping with something. And like I said before, and also I think the last podcast, that coffee really activates the adrenal gland, which produce cortisol and adrenaline, which both are the stress hormone of the body. And if we look at the history term of how they use it when they left to the unknown, where they really needed to be alerted from the environment. So when we're drinking coffee, we need to understand that now we are being careful from the environment after drinking coffee.
We're more sensitive to the environment because we're more stimulated and we're more on that edge of awareness.
Yeah. And it's really crucial for people that's dealing with the chronic illnesses to be extra careful from coffee, because that's always reduce the potential of healing towards the illness, because the adrenaline and cortisol are thriving in the blood. And that's pushing away every healing process to the side, because the healing process is not crucial for dealing with stress.
Yeah, when we're stressed, our body is focusing on survival instead of healing and nourishing. Yeah. That's a really good point you brought in. I really appreciate that. Okay, so do you have something more? I have another question for you.
No, keep the questions. Yes.
Okay, so if speaking to me and anybody else out there who might want to be considering taking a break from coffee, can you give me some, I guess we're talking a little bit, you mentioned a few things already, that like coffee brings in this piece of stress, which doesn't allow our body, for anybody, someone who's especially chronically ill, but probably all of us, we all need to heal and maintain. And obviously the ideal is that we're less stressed. So if coffee kind of creates some layer of stress in our body, there's one reason to take a break from coffee, to kind of allow our body to heal a little bit, allow our body to nourish. What other good reasons can you give my brain to get, and anybody else out there who's thinking of taking a coffee break, what other good reasons can you give us?
I have a few. So we spoke about right before about detoxification. A part of detoxification is losing coffee, because that makes the liver makes much more work to clean the stomach out of the acidy environment the coffee creates. So that's a part of detoxification.
So just can I sorry, can I
yeah.
So two things. I'll put in the comments below here the link to the last video that we just recorded talking a lot about detoxing. And I want to bring in a question I think that you're going to say yes to. So it sounds like this time of year in the springtime, that this is like a really good time of year to do a coffee break, because if we're wanting to support our liver and letting our body naturally do its detox, sounds like it's like an ideal time to take a coffee break.
And if the essence of coffee, why are we drinking coffee? Because we want his essence in our body. And the essence of coffee gives us elevation, expansion. And we spoke about before in the springtime, that's time of expansion. So it happens already in the body. So we don't need to put more expansion when there is expansion.
It's actually like imbalancing it.
Yes.
So then can I ask the opposite question? So when is if there is a good time of year to have coffee, I think I know your answer, but what would be the best time of year that it's like most in harmony with our body?
Actually, it will be summer.
Why?
Why is that? Because it's really hot outside and the body is always want to get rid of the heat. And it's through the bladder and urination. And coffee helps us urinate.
Hmm.
It's also a paradox because coffee really also bring heats to the body, but that's really the best time because in summertime, maybe it will be a podcast for summer, but summertime, the body doesn't hold up anything. Really, it's like the full potential of the body. So the body doesn't need anything in that time. So that's really a time where coffee doesn't so affecting on the worst term on the body.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, what now back to the list of what are the good reasons for me and my other over caffeinated friends to give coffee a break.
So coffee coffee injures the healthy term of appetite. When we drink coffee, that's messed up the appetite natural flow because we said that it makes the stomach be more acidic, and the hunger awakes when the terms of acid and alkali change in the stomach. When the stomach is empty or empty but alkali, and when it becomes a little bit more acidy, a little bit more, then the appetite rises. So if we're making the stomach much more acidy, it damages the appetite.
Mm.
And then if a person wants to be healthy and to maintain a healthy life through nutrition, it really interferes in that place.
It like messes up the body's both functioning and the signals, and then therefore how we're responding to the signals. So we're probably not eating as healthy as possible because we're damaging our stomach, as you're saying.
And again, like I said about the cortisol and adrenaline, if cortisol and adrenaline are abundant in the blood, the body doesn't want to eat. The digestive system doesn't work when we're feeling stress. Like the body don't will give blood to the stomach while adrenaline and cortisol is abundant. It will flow the blood into the limbs, into the heart, into the brain, like to get inside the stimulation.
This might
So
be go ahead.
If we want to affect the digestive in the healthy terms, we want to give it relaxation. And when we're drinking coffee, in definition, there is no relaxation. This is have this understanding is really applies on all the things that I just said.
Got it. Okay. So coffee negatively affects the digestive system, specifically the stomach, in a way that it suppresses appetite and changes the way the blood moves. And then therefore we're not eating the most nourishing food. We're kind of messing with our body's signals. And this might be a sidetrack, but I want to ask you this question because, you know, I know that when we're stressed, our digestive system goes down because our body's in like a fight or flight survival mode. And what I find really interesting is that it's often when a lot of people eat, they emotionally eat. They're not necessarily feeling a hunger feeling, but they're wanting to solve the emotional stress, or that they're wanting to feel better emotionally. So they're eating food. And so I'm curious if there's anything that you want to share about like what happens in the body when we actually don't have an appetite and our body's not ready to digest and we're eating for comfort reasons.
So in that term, the body will not nourish itself. It will be only fill up to fill up my emotional stress. So in definition, the nutrition of the food doesn't matter how nutrition it is, it won't affect the body.
Kind of just goes right through.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, it's really it's all hard things to say, but really the understanding needs to come that it wasn't like that. Most of our living parts of human beings on earth, and really when coffee stepped inside of our culture, in the Western culture, it was in the First World War. Well, Britain want to supply coffee to the soldiers, and France want to supply them. So what they did, they created melting coffee for the first time. And what is it, melting coffee, when we drink? Nescafe. How is it in English? Melting coffee?
Instant coffee.
Instant coffee. It's normal coffee beans when processed. Why processed? Because they poured acid on it. They poured actual acid on it. It's crazy to think about it that way.
I've always hated instant coffee, but now I know why I hated it. So they actually, instead of grinding it and cooking it in order to make it easier to get to the soldiers, you get the acid to break it down. So it's like highly processed food. And then you dry it probably after you put the acid on it. And then ew. Gross. Okay. So coffee just came into like around the world, it sounds like, in World War I. I actually didn't know these history facts. So coffee came into World War I. So it's only been since, what is that? The 1920s that coffee has 100 years.
Yeah,
that it's been like in our evolution, our human evolution. So yeah, I like to talk a lot about what's been introduced to our bodies in the last 100 years, because it really is a lot of new things. Processed foods, coffees, it sounds like processed coffee.
But yeah. on the basic of all of that, and Western culture is mainly unconscious stress. Unconscious stress that's stepping inside of our life into almost everything that we do. The screen makes us stress, the foods, the coffee, a lot of specific things. So we need to think that we live in an environment, the Western culture environment is acidy environment, stressful environment, that if we want to be aligned and not be crazy in that reality, is always to do the opposite. How am I making myself calm? How am I making my body more alkali? How am I making my body more light? How I'm putting less sugar inside? Because everything that they want to sell us, or to sell us their products, everything related into that. So we really need to think always how we can put the opposite balance into that.
How can we balance, yeah, the lifestyle, the cultural lifestyle that we're all living in? I love that you brought that in. I'm curious, I'd like to bring in two more topics. One is like the dependency that a lot of people have on coffee for pooping. I'd love to hear some of your perspective on that. And then I have one more question after that.
So really, it's only a habit. It's really a habit. And really that's a natural feeling and need to feel empty in the morning. That's really the most natural thing to do. Most of the people, because they're living a much more higher frequency life, they exhausted themselves, and then the body wakes up in the morning exhausted, tired, and really that's the most high frequency time of the day when we supposed to feel much more, as much as we energize there is, because that's the starting day. So that's really a negative circle. So if a person feels tired in the morning, he wants to wake up, so he drink coffee, and then he get used to it while he drink coffee, so he needs to poop, and it's like helps him poop. So also pooping also related to the amount of energy that we have in our body. And really, if a person wants to help him poop in the morning, just to drink half a liter of water, and that will be stimulating the blood, and that will be stimulating the stomach and the intestine, and that will be doing great job of helping pooping.
One other thing I'd like to bring in here, and I'd love to your perspective on it also, is that I think a lot of the problem pooping has a lot to do with our diet. When we're eating processed foods and flours and foods that are really heavy and that our body's struggling to digest, and then we're tired, like you're bringing in, then it's kind of like the way to cheat. Like if you're having if we're not eating the best food, then we kind of almost become dependent on using coffee to help move everything through, which is one of the things I really like to offer, is like increasing vegetable intake, fruits and vegetables, as a way to help the body, and really watching and looking for those really heavy, sticky, I like to think about like flour, like, sticky food that it's harder to digest. And so allowing our bodies to eat a little bit lighter and helping our digestive systems out. Do you have anything to add to that?
So really, if we're using type of food in the morning to help us poop, it will be cucumber and lemon. To eat a cucumber, it really helps to ignite the intestine in a really healthy way. Doesn't matter what I ate the last night. And a lemon, it's also a kicker. Like to squeeze it in the cup of water and to drink it, maybe to chew it up a little bit. It really helps also to ignite the intestine. But the most important thing that I want to say in that term is breaking the habit, because it's only a habit. And if we're taking 2 weeks time to investigate and to try that in that way, it will take the body 2 weeks to adjust without coffee to poop. And then the body will do what it needs.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you really don't think that it matters what people eat the day before for pooping? If someone's eating a whole bunch of breads and flours, you don't think that
it is crucial. It is important. But I think, yeah, because I will think naturally that dinner need to be light. Dinner need to be humble and simple as much as we can, and to save the big meal to the morning. For me, that works, because I'm really energetic in the morning. I'm stepping outside of home after the meal. So whatever I'm doing it. And really the body invests as much as blood to the digestive in the morning time. That's also Western medicine can prove, and science proved it. So really after dark, the body shuts down. The body shuts down, and every time and everything that we do, that we're adding to the body after nighttime, it's a sin to the body. So yeah, it's a culturistic thing to meet up for dinner and like to the family meets at dinner time. I'm not interfering to that, but just to be minded about it, not to eat too much in nighttime.
Yeah, we actually really focus on eating our family meals as early as possible. We try to eat by 5. And for us, we find the balance of like when it's a social thing once a week or something, we're not strict about it, but we really do our best, and we really feel our best if we eat earlier than later. I want to bring in one more topic, and this is actually one of my big reasons that I'm actually going to take a coffee break, is the component of sleep. So I know that like what I've been doing, I feel like in a certain way I've kind of just woken up, and I've like yesterday I was just really sitting and thinking about like, what am I doing with overusing my coffee? And for me, one of my big motivators and things that I've noticed is that like my sleep, I've always been a very good sleeper. Since I had a kid, my sleep got often interrupted. But I think this last year, my overuse of coffee has really kind of negatively impacted my sleep. What I notice is that when I wake up in the middle of the night, sometimes it's because my little one wakes me up, and sometimes I just wake up, that I am very awake, and it's almost impossible for me to go back to sleep most of the time. And so I'm guessing, and I'd love to hear your opinion on this, I'm guessing that that's connected to my overuse of coffee and probably my adrenals and.
Exactly. So when the adrenal gland is working and cortisol and adrenaline is abundance, that's activate the sympathetic nervous system, which is the nervous system divided into three subsystems. And one of them is called the autonomic system. Inside of the autonomic system, we have sympathetic and parasympathetic. Sympathetic system related into stress. Parasympathetic related into relaxation, digestive, calming,
Reproduction.
They both balancing each other the whole time. So if sympathetic system is abundance most of the day, it will take the body much more time to bring balance and to step in the parasympathetic. And then this gentle balance is getting interfered daily because of coffee. So if we're thinking about in a natural term that we feel and interact with our reality, in the healthy term that something activates the sympathetic term, and then after I will eat, and eating is a parasympathetic stimulation, it will balance itself. But if I'm drinking coffee a few times a day, I'm messing up with the balancing of the nervous system. So I think because of that, sometimes the sleeping is getting interfered because it's much more harder to the body to calm down. Especially when the need for coffee is brought up. Also, something we didn't spoke about, that coffee is an addiction. Coffee is an addiction substance. We become addiction to that substance. So every time, if you're waking up in the middle of the night after not drinking coffee 8 or 10 hours, your body wants it. Yeah, your logic says, no, it's nighttime, I won't drink coffee. Like you say, I don't want it, but your body wants it.
That's the physical addiction.
Yeah.
So how long does it take for like our adrenals and parasympathetic, sympathetic nervous system to come back into balance?
So it's really differentiate for every person. But it's really related to the stimulation that we give to the body. If we have stimulation that activate the sympathetic sympathetic system will thrive. If we give stimulation of parasympathetic will thrive. So it's really related to the lifestyle of the person, how he eats, how he put information inside of him, how he deal with his emotion, how he doing physical exercise, how he treats his family. It's all related. It's all really related. When we're doing something minded, when we're conscious about our things, about the things that we do, that's a parasympathetic stimulation. When we're not thinking about doing something and it's like autopilot, that's a much more big ground for the sympathetic to thrive.
The reactive stress part. Yeah. Can I ask you the question one more time and you can give me maybe like a general answer? Like if it's, let's say most things are in balance and in line and it's only the coffee, which is probably never the case, but let's just say in this scenario, if it's just the caffeine that's creating this overstimulation, do you know roughly or a guess of like how long it takes for a few weeks?
No, if you stop with coffee, after 3 days, 4 days, your system will be clean from it. And then it's only the habit that takes 2 to 3 weeks to get rid of.
And what about the adrenals? What about the adrenals and the hormones?
Adrenal get affected also because a lot of things, not just because coffee. But it really helps to balance the adrenal gland when we're not drinking coffee, because we're not adding more stimulation to the gland. So, and if a person really drinks coffee like 1 time a day, what really helps, and we said it before, to drink 2 cups of water immediately after, not coffee.
Funny slip. And the adrenals will recover from coffee in a few days also?
Yeah, 3 days. 3 days of headaches, and then you're free. You're just free also from the addiction, not from the habit, but free. Yeah,
I love that distinction. There's the physical addiction, the dopamine and the chemicals, and then there's the ritual, emotional habit addiction.
So I want to share with you that maybe to give you some motivation. I'm without coffee for 2 weeks now, and I can tell you that I'm noticing that I'm waking up much more easy in the morning, to tell you that I'm much more minded to the fluids and foods that coming inside of my body, to say that I'm much more alerted to my appetite. My tongue is much more sensitive now for taste, because there's not this really strong bitter taste that's covering up my tongue. My poop is much more better. It's going out much more in flow and not strong.
Not emergent.
And also it's really feeling free from the addiction, feeling free from the habit that sometimes I'm saying, yeah, it's a habit, and sometimes it's controlling me. So I'm feeling more free from that place. And I think that's also really helps me and gives me motivation and help me understand that I'm controlling my life and not the substance that I'm putting inside.
Beautiful. I love that you added in and shared the benefits and what you're really noticing, because yeah, it's hard to get through with any habit change. It's hard to get through that breakup phase beginning, and to know that there's that other side of like, these are the reasons, like these are the good things that are going to come, you know, because yeah, thank you. I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I want to share for anyone out there listening, I have had in my mind the idea of creating some kind of stop over caffeinating challenge, some kind of thing. So if you've listened to this entire episode and you're interested in that, please write in the comments below that you're interested. Maybe Yotam and I will team up and create something together. And also if you have any other questions or comments, please do drop them down below and we would love to answer them and get back to you. And Dr. Tamari's email will also be down below this video if you want to reach out to him and see what it's like to work with him. And do you have any other, I feel like we're at a really good place. Do you have anything else you want to share?
No, I think we said enough.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you, Dr. Yotam Tamari. I really appreciate your time and all of your wisdom and your perspective. I really am enjoying these talks with you immensely. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the opportunity.
And thank you everyone for being here, and we will see you next time. Have a beautiful day.